Hi, on our show today, we're going to be talking to two well-known psychologists, Stanley Milgram and Philip Zimbardo, and one of the participants, Eve Howe from Milgram's experiment. I'm Caitlin, and this is my colleague Tasnim. So we'll start with Milgram. Can you tell us why you did your obedience experiment in the first place, and what was the meaning behind it?
Yeah, it was basically a study to show obedience and authority. When Hitler and told the Nazis to commit genocide in World War II, many of them did it without even thinking. It was said that they only committed it due to dehumanisation. The Jews were just classed as numbers and just wore all the same uniform. They weren't an individual person. I wanted to see if individuals from our modern day would inflict pain on others if told to do so by an authority figure. In this case, the authority figure was a man in a white coat, but the pain was not real and only acted.
Oh, so what did you think was going to happen? What were your expectations from the experiment?
Well, I didn't expect the levels of high obedience at all, and I described the procedure in detail to psychiatrists and other college students. And the psychiatrists themselves all said that only 1 in 1,000 people would go all the way and commit the 450-volt shock. So this even showed that even the experts didn't realise what would happen at this time. And nobody knew, including all the college students, thought that it was horrific that such people could go all the way when they saw the actual experiment.
Oh, so your work's been a huge impact on psychology overall, and did you expect it to be this big and have it being redone so many times?
Well, no, when I first conducted this experiment, obviously we didn't predict the high level of obedience, so we didn't think that it'd be used even in this modern day and age. I also didn't realise that at the time it would cause such a big impact with ethics. In my defence, when I followed up the participants after a year of conducting the study, many of them didn't have any psychological harm at all, and they also had many positive experiences and found that it showed them that they are capable of doing certain things when pushed. So when it came to if they ever conducted it again, would they act in the same way? And so, because neither I or my fellow colleagues expected this, so new information on human behaviour was actually found and has added to psychology today.
Thank you. Eve, you were actually one of the participants. Why did you take part to start with?
Well, at first, when I saw the newspaper advertisement, it said that the study was actually a study on memory, and it deceived us into thinking that it wouldn't be as horrific and traumatising as it actually was. We were also told that we'd be given $4.50 for just turning up to the laboratory regardless of whether or not we participated in it, so I mostly came for the money to begin with.
And why did you continue to administer electric shocks when you ultimately had the freedom to stop, and how did you feel when you were doing this?
Well, at first when I started it, I felt pressured into doing it, mainly by the setting that I was in. I was surrounded by laboratory rooms and the experimenter in a white coat, and many of the participants felt the same, so I felt like I couldn't leave at the same time. At first I didn't feel a lot of guilt because we weren't told that we'd be behaving immorally or inhumanely, but as the study progressed and I started having to administer higher and higher electric shocks, I began feeling tense and stressed, angry. I started shaking and biting my lip and giggling with nervousness. But I felt like I had to go on because the experiment would use a lot of methods and prods to keep me going, making me feel like I couldn't leave by saying that it was essential that I continued or that I couldn't leave now.
So if it was so traumatic, would you, if you got the choice, do it again? Would you go back and make the same choice you did?
Yeah, I think I would. In fact, most of the participants that did it would agree, because it's opened our eyes to the darker side of the human mind that we didn't know before. And it's allowed us to think more independently about how we'd behave in situations like this again. So I'm a lot more confident now. If I was put in a situation where I wasn't comfortable with what an authority figure was saying, I'd be able to act on my own moral judgments better than before.
And finally, would you say this experiment had any long-term psychological implications on you?
Well, I still find it quite hard to deal with the fact that I willingly potentially killed someone just because I was told to. But at first I found it really stressful in the early days. But a year on, when I was assessed again, I found it a lot easier to deal with, and the counselling sessions that Milgram offered all his participants has helped us to realise that everyone is capable of acting in a way that you never thought you could when you're under the authority of a higher authority figure. And the results of the study have been really interesting, so I'm glad to have taken part in something which has had such a big effect on the whole psychological world, because nobody expected to get the results that they did from it.
Okay. And now we have Zimbardo. First question, considering Milgram's experiment was considered so unethical, why did you choose to base your research on him?
Milgram's study may have been considered unethical. His aim was to see how people would react under pressure by a person considered to have higher authority than themselves. This is why the study was based on Milgram's work, to test his hypothesis with another experiment of a similar base.
Okay. And do you think that the criticisms Milgram received were justified?
No. The people who took part in the experiment were perfectly aware of that it was an experiment. They knew that they were able to withdraw at any time that they wished to, so Milgram should never be held responsible for another person's actions.
Okay. Thank you all for giving us your time and taking part in these interviews, and thank you all for watching. We hope you found it both interesting and insightful.